this is an interesting subject. So this is basically, if you've learned Japanese, there's one quote from Mad Men that I love. It's at the end of one of the, like, season 3 or something, where Don Draper is cornered in a moment where it looks like all is done, and someone says, you know, a sort of a Japan culture fan in the office sort of says to the Japanese, you know, who you are is completely dependent upon who else is in the room with you. It's all conditional. And it sounded like one of those sort of kitschy kind of Japanese wisdom kind of things that, you know, that Americans would throw out, like Marie Kondo kind of belief that all Japanese are experts at karate and, you know, can have super tidy houses and all this sort of stuff. It's not necessarily true, but that quote was really, really accurate and spot on. Japanese linguistically, when you learn Japanese, you'll know the toughest part about Japanese is not the grammar. The grammar is simple, the pronunciation is simple, the kanji is a pain. Everyone thinks kanji is the real problem, but actually when you get past the kanji, the real thing when you're actually living life in Japan, the real issue is that Japanese language and grammar is fluid. The language and grammar and words that you use is completely dependent upon where you are and who else is around and who you're talking to and what your position in that room is, and that constantly changes, and you know, you can address the same person. So for example, I might talk to someone on my team, I might talk to my boss honorifically, like putting myself down and saying, you know, oh, Your Honor, or whatever. I could speak to my subordinate very casually, but when I go to a different company with both my boss and my subordinate, I will talk, you know, basically very humbly about all the people on my team equally. So your position is constantly changing, and this is all around Keigo, politeness language. And you know, and Keigo itself has multiple levels. There is basic kind of casual, polite, and super polite language, but there's even within super polite language there are degrees. You know, stuff that you'd say to the emperor, stuff that you'd say at a company. And if you ever get it wrong, you always think, well, if you're not sure, just be safe and be extra polite. But if you get it wrong, like apart from sounding weird, it'll actually piss people off. It'll be like, either are you an idiot or are you deliberately mocking me? And it'll be kind of funny. You can say hello and piss people off by, you know, by being too polite or not polite enough. Either way, they'll get pissed off. They'll say, are you taking the piss? And so it's a funny problem. And it's a real challenge with Japanese language, that even for Japanese people, don't think that this is easy for Japanese people. University grads come out of university and they've got no idea how to speak. They come into Japanese companies and they basically get hazed over the fact that they don't know how to speak within companies because they've never experienced working within companies before. Maybe they've watched some TV dramas, but basically they come in and they do it all wrong. It's it's a rite of passage for Japanese, is getting hazed over needing to learn their own language like a 5-year-old kid when they join companies. So around this, you've got the situation of, well, convenience store workers, you know, earning minimum wage, half of them now not even Japanese actually. And when you go into Family Mart or Lawson or 7-Eleven or Sunks and you go in, how is that staff supposed to say, hello, welcome to the store, here's your change? You know, how are they supposed to talk? Are they supposed to look at the person and reflect that this person's a kid or this person's an elderly person or whatever? You know, and do they speak differentially? Do they speak in a friendly manner, like someone from your family, you know, welcoming? How do you talk? And basically what's kind of taken hold, and this has really been, apparently there's been a trend towards this, particularly in the last 10 to 15 years. They've talked about this being manual Keigo, which is basically, they've decided the safest is just to go for maximum Keigo, for like talking to the Emperor Keigo. But also to learn it as in written in a work manual and just say it mechanically and robotically without really thinking. And the idea being, you know, if you get it wrong by being too polite. So people are trained when they join these convenience stores to treat everybody, to basically use the highest level of Keigo casually and robotically with everybody. And this is causing a debate in Japan that they're kind of destroying this Keigo, because this Keigo, you know, but the Keigo that they use, the high level Keigo that they're using, the politeness language that they're using, is supposed to be reserved, you know, for really sort of special and appropriate moments. And if it's something that a convenience store clerk uses to every customer, to a 5-year-old customer, you know, is this like debasing that part of the language, apart from the fact that the usage is arguably incorrect. So there's a debate going on in Japan at the moment basically about how convenience stores and the trends towards using more and more polite but also without thinking language is actually affecting the grammar of Japanese itself. So really interesting. There's a great link here, and by the way, of course, I've got the link below the video for my Flipboard. You can follow me on Twitter. There's a great article here on CityLab, a site which I don't know. In fact, I can't remember how I got this, but it got shared around. Alan Richards. It's a great article talking about Japanese, specifically the challenges of learning Keigo, which is actually, it's not just a linguistic thing. This is about how society works. So well worth checking out this article. It's a good read.